right, so in this video, we're going to talk about solving linear inequalities. The nice thing about this is that it's very similar to just solving regular equations, and there's only just one or two minor things that you have to be paying extra attention to. All right, so let's go into properties of inequalities. Let's say that I have an inequality that says A is less than B. Well, that addition property says that I can add something to both sides and not change that inequality statement. So it is okay to add something to both sides without changing the inequality. And the same thing holds true with subtraction, right? So I could subtract whatever I do to the left side, I do to the right side, and that is okay. Nothing major changes, and I'm okay to do that. With multiplication and division, there is a minor adjustment that you have to pay attention to. So let's take a look at this. If I say that A is less than B, I can multiply by a number. So I'm going to multiply by C to both sides, and that is absolutely fine. Here's the part where you have to pay attention. If I multiply both sides by a negative value, you must flip the inequality. So I would expect you to have a little toolbox item over here off to the right that says when multiplying or dividing, because dividing is just multiplying by the reciprocal, right? So when multiplying or dividing by a negative, you must flip the inequality. And I don't really like the word flip. It's not very academic, but that's what we usually, it helps people to understand that. We're reversing the inequality is what we're doing. So, excuse me, if we were to take a look at another example of A is less than B, if I were to divide by a number, then that simply is just going to be whatever that comes out to be, B over negative C, we must flip that inequality. All right, so very important that when you are multiplying or dividing by a negative, that you reverse that inequality. And so that brings us to the reversal property. The reversal property says, well, hey, look, if A is less than B, I could actually just reverse the order in which they are designated, and I could actually rewrite that and say that B is greater than A. Now here's the difference I want to specify. Flipping is actually the better word in terms of multiplying and dividing, because you are just flipping the inequality, whereas reversing says not only are you reversing the inequality, you're reversing the numbers that go along with it. So we want to make sure that you have whatever the inequality is pointing to in the original, make sure it is still pointing to that number after you reverse it. Okay, let's take a look at number one. Notice here on number one, we are supposed to be solving, graphing, and writing our answer in interval notation. Well, one of the problems that we have here is that there are fractions. Now you can solve this with fractions, and that's fine, but I am just going to go ahead and get rid of all my fractions by multiplying by the denominator. So if I were to distribute the 2 to negative x, I get negative 2x. Take the 2 times the positive 4, I get positive 8. Inequality stays the same. 2 times 1/2 x is just going to be x, and then 2 times 1 is just 2. So now it's a nice equation, or actually an equality, that I can just solve as normal. I'm going to subtract x. That gives me negative 3x plus 8 is less than 2. Subtract 8. I get negative 3x is less than negative 6. Dividing by negative 3, x Negative 6 divided by negative 3 is positive 2. Notice that I have to flip that inequality because I divided by a negative. So there's my solution. The graph is just a number line. Put whatever number is your solution right in the middle and one number to the right and one number to the left. We're going to go open circle. Please start drawing your graphs above the number line so that it's very distinct and clear. So we have 2, we have open, and we have going to the right. And then now we are going to take that information and put it in interval notation. So interval notation is going to start at 2. It's too thick. Start at 2 and go to infinity. So we have 2 to infinity. Remember, infinity will always have parentheses, and that's an open circle. So I have 2 comma infinity. All right, so now let's take a look, another one with fractions. Let's find the LCD. The LCD in this particular problem would be 24. So if I were to multiply every term by 24, well, 4 into 24 is 6. 6 times negative 3x is negative 18x. Is greater than or equal to, let's take that 24 and multiply it by negative 5/8. 8 goes into 24 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. And then let's do it to the last one here. 3 goes into 24, 8. 8 times 2 is 16, so we have 16x. Now we get to solve as normal. So we are going to go ahead and subtract 16x. Looks like I have 34x is greater than or equal to negative 15. Notice I did not flip the inequality. I subtracted, which says you can do that. You don't have to flip it. Now I'm going to divide by 34. And x is greater than or equal to negative 15 over 34. All right, so that's my solution. Now my number line, and this is where I want you to understand how to write your number line. So negative 15 over 34, I want you to have one number to the right and one number to the left, okay? Oh, you know what? I need to go back. This is negative 34, my bad. So I'm going to delete this here. All right. So we did actually divide by negative because negative 18 and negative 16 is negative 34. So we're going to divide by negative 34 and divide by negative 34. X is something 15 over 34. It's no longer greater than because we divided by a negative, so we now need to flip it. So x is less than or equal to positive 15 over 34. This is our proper solution set. So let's draw a number line. We've got 15 over 34 right here. We need one number to the right and one number to the left. So the next number that would be right here would be 16 over 34. But I would definitely want you to reduce that. And then dividing by 2, that's going to give you 8 over 17. And then if I were to go to the left, well, the left is going to be 14 over 34. But if I were to reduce that by 2, that's also going to give me 17, or 7 over 17. So we're going to go 7 over 17. So now I have my 3 numbers on my number line. This is going to be a closed circle at 15 over 34, and it is going to the left. So with that, in interval notation, the smallest number is negative infinity, and it stops at 15 over 34. Infinity, negative infinity has a parenthesis, and 15 over 34 has a bracket.